First off, my name is Norman. I'm absolutely stoked because today we have a really good treat for y'all. Everyone's saying one, thank you, thank you. We actually ran this at eTail West, and everyone was saying that this was one of like the best fireside chats and or sessions in the event. And the main reason why is because a lot of people talk about, hey, this is how you create a creator community. This is how you cultivate this type of group of people to be able to produce content for you. However, the advice that we get is not necessarily always the best place. And so that's why I decided that, Cassandra is the best person to actually include here. First of all, Cassandra, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure thing, Norman. Thank you guys so much for being here. I see Sarah, Venus, Olga, Neil, Frank, Katan, a bunch of people in the chat. During this session, feel free to put questions in the Q&A and Norman and I can answer them. My name is Cassandra Bankson. I actually started my career as a runway model with severe cystic acne, and I was being bullied at school, but celebrated for how I looked on billboards or magazines. And that to me was a very difficult thing to live with because I felt like I was living two lives. So I got on the internet and I started sharing how I could model with acne by covering my acne with makeup. This was in 2009 and 2010 on a little website that no one had ever heard of called YouTube. And it ended up becoming a very big thing. And it took me about 8 years to monetize. But during the last 17 years of posting content online, we've seen new platforms, new social commerce, things like TikTok Shop, Amazon, etc., and new ways to reach customers that is authentic, but also impactful. So my mission as a medical esthetician and content creator is to educate, entertain, and empower. And I'm honored to be an advisor for Digital AgenZ. Norman, I'll let you speak more about the company as well, but it's an agency that essentially is a TSP, a TikTok Shop partner, where full management happens for brands. Norman, I'll let you speak a little bit more about, but for a brand who's just trying to get into e-commerce, it can be very difficult. And so having a guide that not only helps you set up your products correctly, gets you connected with TikTok Shop employees, but can also connect people to creators or real life events. It makes all the difference in that brand experience for the creator and brand partnership, which translates into the content and into the consumer experience. But Norman, can you speak a little bit more about Digital AgenZ?
You're putting me on the spot here because I usually don't talk about any of that stuff. But I think bringing in content creator like yourself, where you've essentially seen the whole evolution of social commerce, is by far the most valuable side of it. Because how often do we say, hey, how do I put together a creator community? And it's a lot of advice from brands, which is great, but it doesn't encompass the side of the creator economy. And so I think for Digital AgenZ, what we wanted to do was, okay, well, why don't we take both worlds, put it together, and be able to make it so that it's covering all perspective in the social commerce space. That said, Cassandra has driven over multi seven figures for brands across YouTube, TikTok, even Snapchat, well, and Meta, of course. But that said, I want to really make this more kind of like a podcast type of setting, and then feel free everyone to drop in your questions on the Q&A. I think we'll start off with micro and then we'll go off to like the more macro side. Cassandra, when a brand reaches out to you, they're like, hey, I want to work with you. Can we do like 20% commission? What does that usually look like from your perspective, and how do you usually go about working with these brands?
Yeah, so brands can reach out in a multitude of ways. I think the most important thing that you need to look at is number one, what is your alignment with that content creator? And number two, how are you actually reaching them? So is this coming through a DM, or is this coming through the affiliate marketing portal within my own TikTok shop that's really easy for me to see? Or is it coming through an email? Or is it coming through a friend who texted me and said, hey, you need to meet this brand? That is going to be a much more high touch thing and get the best conversions. The second piece of that is making sure that there's alignment. For example, I'm personally plant-based. I once got a very lucrative offer to promote a steakhouse. And I was like, okay, the vegan will promote a steakhouse. Let me think about that. And someone's like, yeah, they serve broccoli. And while that was very tempting, not just based on the food, but based on the price, I knew that if I promoted this steakhouse, I wouldn't be doing anyone any favors. Not only would I be compromising my own, personal choices that I've shared openly with my audience, but the steakhouse wouldn't get conversion. A lot of people who follow me like cruelty-free beauty, they're into more healthy eating. They might like burgers and fries on the weekend, but that might not be, what is primarily in their diet. And so even if I have millions of followers online, even if I promote it, they're not going to get the same ROI that they would if this were a vegan plant-based burger reaching out to me, or even more aligned, some sort of skincare, that actually speaks to my audience. So I think knowing why the influencers you're reaching out to create content that serves your audience and your niche, making sure that those two audiences of the influencer and brand are aligned are absolutely paramount. And it might seem so simple, right? But a lot of brands actually overlook this and they just look at numbers.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. And while we're continuing to chat about this, if you're able to chat, I guess we'll refer to chat, but if you can put in your industry, that would be very, very helpful. We can at least cover a couple of things within certain verticals and things like that. That'd be great. Thank you. Cassandra, I mean, going off of that, I think that a lot of times we talk about messaging creators, and that's usually because we either copy and paste or we don't utilize the outreach tools in the right way. Like, how would you go about that? Because like you said, right, maybe someone just didn't do research, but they're saying, hey, I'm a huge fan of you, but apparently you didn't know that I look at cruelty free and vegan products. So what is your advice to brands where if they wanted to do mass outreach, what is your advice on that?
Let's talk specifically about TikTok Shop. I think there's a lot of people here who have sports nutrition, skincare, home and technology. I'm seeing lots of kids' toys, pets, etc. With all of those, there should be a kind of a group of curated creators that you love that you're willing to search for their emails for, to look for their managers if they have one, or to ask for a warm introduction of. But also, even though you have that kind of hero group of creators, you need to cast that net wide. So there's that like second onion layer of creators which are in that vertical or in that niche. TikTok Shop has launched verticalization, so now it is much easier to target certain people that already post about those topics. But I would say using an outreach tool to be able to do mass outreach and being able to actually capture people within that niche. Another really important thing is just that personal touch. I get a lot of messages, or my managers do, that say, "Hi, dear, we love your content. Please promote our product." And it's an oil changer for a vehicle, and that for me is not necessarily my niche, nor is it tailored to me. So you can kind of feel that it's a mass outreach and it's an authentic. Whether it's a tool that you use like Social Snowball, or there's many other affiliate managers on the market, whether you have someone in-house or whether you're working through another platform, making sure that the person's name is clear, making sure that you're saying why you like their content, or using some sort of script or software that says, "We've seen your viral video on, insert video here. We really liked it, and we want you to create something similar for us." We are a pet brand that is focused on letting people have better relationships with their pets, allergy free, and in a way that's healthy for both humans and animals. Buy our treats. Something like that speaks to the value that you provide that an influencer can put into their content. It speaks to why you like the influencer's most viral video just by including a link to their most popular one. And then it addresses them by name. And that, in a world of constant messages, really stands out.
Awesome. Yeah, I see some really, really cool and diverse group of different verticals. And that's really, really awesome. Kids accessories all the way to, kitchen items that are high margin. And this question is kind of more encompassing on actually all of them, is mainly incentives, right? Because when a creator works with a brand, I've heard a lot of brands say, well, I mean, we have 30% commission versus everyone else that's 20, for example. Like, I don't understand why creators aren't advocate, or they're not drawn to us. So, what are the different types of incentive structures that you've seen that works better outside of just, well, we're 30% versus 20%?
Definitely. So there are different monetary packages, I would say. But in addition to that, there's also different influencers. There's a nano, a micro, and a macro influencer, right? The nano usually has less than 10,000 followers and, can be a little bit more UGC, but is really niche down. Micro is under 100,000. They have great engagement, but they might not have all of the views that a large influencer has. And then a macro influencer usually has like 500,000 to a million plus, depending on the platform. And their fees might be much higher, but they're very top of funnel awareness driven. And they can get hundreds of thousands of views on content, even if it's not as niche down or specified. And so knowing which one you're trying to reach or which groups you're trying to reach can really come into play when these incentive structures play in. Now, like you said, there is increased commission, but there's also bonus commission tiering. So for example, if you sell a certain amount of products or get a certain amount of views, we're actually going to add another layer of commission onto that. There's flat fee, So for example, hey, Cassandra, you really love this Korean sunscreen. We're going to pay you a flat fee of X amount, and we want you to post a video across platform on all of your socials. That really works well for macro influencers. Whereas for a UGC creator, you might say, hey, Kristen, you have 7,000 followers, but we really like your content. Can we pay you $500 for 10 different videos? So about 50 bucks a video. And then you get to retain those rights, and you're basically paying her not just to post on her platform, but you're paying her to kind of keep the content to yourself or to take over those rights of the content that can then be repurposed. And that's kind of how some flat fee structures work. You can do those as a one-off or you can do them in packages. There's also retainer models. For example, Mahedi, I absolutely love your fashion content. We have new styles coming out all year long. We want you to post 4 videos per quarter, 16 total, and we want you to, speak about our new launches and why you love them. We're going to pay you a retainer, meaning we're going to pay you. You already know our talking points. You already know what we like, and it's just going to be on auto. Then there's also things, Norman, you're an expert in like events and experiences. This I don't think is tapped into enough, but it can work really well. Paying a creator to show up for a brand at an event, doing a speech at a booth. It's a little bit more endorsement. It's usually a flat fee, but you're using this creator to talk to other creators, right? Other creators, maybe micro and nano, look up to this macro creator, and the macro creator is saying, hey, I'm here with this lipstick company, here to tell you all about it. We're doing free samples. Scan this QR code, get in touch, with this brand, and let me show you how you can create a viral video using this product that I love. So all of those, can be part of this cycle and this flywheel. Not to mention things like Social Snowball, where you also have customer outreach. Your
Yeah.
customers can kind of be advocates or influencers as well. And how do maybe you can speak to that?
This is why I love Cassandra. She
Yeah.
she she pitches us better than I could ever do. So we do have a couple questions on in the chat. Thank you so much. That was such a helpful breakdown. And I'm gonna be using the recording from this to send to folks who then ask me. We do have, I know we're at time, but we have a lot of time to answer a couple questions. There's this interesting one that I got on in the chat. It's for both you, Norman, and Cassandra. Would you say that a flat fee or a percentage on the affiliate program in TikTok is the best setup? They've been trying to see what works, but what would you recommend, just based on the stuff that you just said, Cassandra?
I would say higher commission is better since we as creators can filter for it. And if you want to do flat fee, a lot of affiliates are reluctant to do that through app. Go through a manager or a TikTok shop or a direct connection for a flat fee.
It depends whether you're a cold start or not. I think
Mm.
that you have different leverage when it comes to which position you're at. Creators, they look at like your reviews, the number of sales that you have. So if you're cold start, it makes it much more difficult where you may have to look into flat fee plus a commission, but there's always different types of deals that you can put forward as well.
Amazing. So Norman and Cassandra, thank you so much for joining.